My name is Rachel. I am 21 years old. I live in a small town called Maple Hollow. It is a quiet town with trees, lakes, and kind people. I lived here all my life. Most people know each other. It feels safe. It feels calm. I met Jacob when I was 16. He was 19. He worked with his hands. He made chairs, tables, and small wooden toys. People said he was good at his job. I thought he was kind. He smiled a lot. He helped old people with heavy bags. He said thank you and please. He looked simple, calm, and warm. We saw each other at the market. He was buying apples. I stood near the bread. He looked at me and smiled. I smiled back. That was the start. After that, we met again. We talked. We laughed. He asked for my number. I said yes. We went for walks. We sat near the lake. He talked about his work. I talked about school. He brought me flowers once. I felt happy. My friends said we looked good together. My mom liked him. My dad liked him too. He was polite. He was quiet. He made people feel calm. After 1 year, we became a couple. I was very happy. I thought I found the one. I wanted a simple life. I wanted to stay in Maple Hollow. I wanted to have a small house, maybe 2 kids. He said he wanted the same. We spent a lot of time together. We cooked, we watched movies, we went on camping trips. Every fall we picked apples. Every winter we drank hot chocolate. Every summer we went to the lake. People called us the perfect pair. When I turned 20, he asked me to marry him. I said yes. He gave me a ring. It was not big, but I loved it. I cried. I felt lucky. I thought he was my forever. We moved into a small house. It was his grandfather's house. It had wood walls and old pictures. I made it feel warm. I put flowers near the windows. I cooked dinner. I washed clothes. I loved him. I wanted to make him happy, but small things started to feel strange. Sometimes I looked at him and he looked away. Sometimes I talked about the future and he stayed quiet. I said, "Let's go see other places." But he said, "This town is enough." I said, "Let's dream big." But he said, "Simple is better." I thought maybe he was tired. He worked a lot. He came home late. I waited. I made dinner. I sat near the window and watched the road. When he came, I smiled. He kissed my cheek, but it felt cold. One night we had dinner. I asked, "Do you still love me?" He looked at his plate. He said, "Of course." But his voice was flat. His eyes were not soft. I smiled, but my heart felt small. That night, I cried in bed. He did not hold me. He turned the other way. I wanted to believe we were fine. I told myself, he is just tired. I said, "We are okay." But deep inside, something felt wrong. One day, I sat on the sofa. Jacob was at work. I looked around the house. It was quiet. I saw the small shelf with books and old things. I touched his photos. I picked up an old photo of us at the lake. He was smiling, but I looked harder. His smile looked fake. That night he came home late. I asked, "Did you eat?" He said, "Yes, at work." I said, "I waited." He said, "You didn't have to." Then he went to the shower. I sat at the table. I felt cold. My hands were on the wood. My food was still warm, but I could not eat. I thought back to when we first met. He used to look at me with soft eyes. Now he looked at me like I was a wall. He used to laugh. Now he just nodded and walked away. I felt like I was not seen. I felt like I was not loved. Still, I stayed. I cooked. I cleaned. I smiled when people said we were lucky. I told myself, this is love. I told myself, he will come back to me. But something inside me started to change. I stopped dreaming. I stopped laughing. I started to feel small. I started to feel lost. And that was just the beginning. Still, I stayed. I cooked. I cleaned. I smiled when people said we were lucky. I told myself, this is love. I told myself, he will come back to me. But something inside me started to change. I stopped dreaming. I stopped laughing. I started to feel small. I started to feel lost. And that was just the beginning. One weekend, Jacob went out early. He said he had work. I stayed home. I made tea. I sat on the porch. The air was cold. The trees were red and gold. I looked at the street. I looked at the sky. I felt far away from myself. Later that day, I went to the back room. It was full of old things. A guitar he never played. A jacket he never wore. A box of tools. I opened a drawer. I was not looking for anything. I just wanted to clean. But I found a small book. It had old pages and drawings of tables and chairs. I smiled. I thought it was sweet. Then I saw some words in the back. They were not for me. They were for someone else. He had written them years ago. I could tell. He said she made him feel alive. He said he stayed with me because it was easy, because I loved him more than he ever loved me. My hand began to shake. I closed the book. I sat down. My heart was loud. My face felt hot. I could not believe it. I had loved him for years, and now I saw the truth. I was not his forever. Before we continue with the story, I'd love to hear from you. Which part of the world are you listening from today? Leave a comment below. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more simple and emotional English stories. I sat on the floor for a long time. The house felt too quiet. My chest felt tight. My eyes were full of tears, but I did not cry. I just sat there. My hands touched the cold floor. My mind felt far away. I could still hear his words. She made me feel alive. I stayed because it was easy. I thought about our mornings, our meals, our walks, and his hands holding mine. Now those memories felt different. They felt fake. I looked around the room. The walls were the same. The couch was the same. But everything felt cold. I asked myself, was it all a lie? That night, Jacob came home late again. He looked tired. He said hello and went to wash up. I sat at the table. Dinner was ready. I watched the food get cold. He sat down and ate fast. He didn't ask about my day. He didn't look into my eyes. I watched him. I tried to find something real, but all I saw was distance. I wanted to shout, to ask, "Why am I not enough?" But I stayed quiet. I could not speak. I was too hurt, too shocked. The next day, I went to see Emma. She was my best friend since school. Her house was small but warm. She opened the door and gave me a big hug. She looked at my face. "What's wrong?" she asked. I said, "I need to talk." We sat on her couch. I told her everything. I told her about the book. I told her the words he wrote. Her face turned sad. She held my hand and said, "You didn't do anything wrong." I looked at her. "Then why do I feel so empty?" I asked. She said, "Because you gave your heart, and he didn't." We talked for hours. She told me about love, real love. She said, "It's not just smiles and soft words. Love is care. Love is effort. Love is truth." I cried. She let me cry. She didn't tell me to stop. She just sat with me. I felt safe with her. For the first time in days, I could breathe. When I went home, the house felt different again. I looked at Jacob and tried to see him with new eyes. I noticed things I never saw before. He never asked about my dreams. He never said, "I'm proud of you." He never made plans with me. He just lived beside me, like I was a part of the house, not a part of his heart. One night, he came home late. I was sitting on the porch. The stars were out. He sat next to me. For a moment, we just sat in silence. Then I said, "Do you love me?" He looked at the sky. He didn't answer right away. After a long pause, he said, "You've always been good to me." I felt pain in my chest. I said, "That's not what I asked." He looked at me and said, "I like you. I care about you. But love? I don't know." That was the moment everything broke. I went inside. I sat on the bed. My hands shook. I felt cold. I knew the truth now. I had felt it for a long time. But now he said it. He said it out loud. He liked me, but he never loved me. I was easy. I was safe. That's why he stayed. The next day, I packed a bag. I didn't say anything. I just packed. He watched me but didn't stop me. He asked, "Where will you go?" I said, "Somewhere I can start again." He looked down and said, "I'm sorry." I said, "I know." Then I walked out. I stayed with Emma for a few days. She made tea. She cooked simple meals. She talked with me every night. She told me I was brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt broken. But I listened. And every day, I felt a little stronger. I woke up one morning and looked out the window. The sky was soft pink. The air was cool. I said to myself, "It's time." I called my cousin in Seattle. Her name is Lily. She said I could stay with her. She said, "Come. Start fresh. I'll help you." I booked a ticket. I packed my things. Emma drove me to the bus stop. She gave me a long hug. "You're not running away," she said. "You're choosing yourself." I smiled. "Thank you," I whispered. As the bus left Maple Hollow, I looked out the window. The trees were red and gold. The roads were quiet. I thought about Jacob. I thought about the girl I used to be. I loved him with my whole heart, but he never loved me back. And now I was leaving, not because I lost, but because I was ready to find myself. I did not know what would happen next, but I knew this: I would not settle again. I would not stay where I was not loved. I was scared, but I was free. For the first time, I chose me. Seattle was big, loud, and fast. The buildings were tall. The streets were busy. The air smelled like coffee and rain. I had never lived in a big city before. Everything felt new. Everything felt strange. But I liked it. It was different from Maple Hollow. It was not full of memories. It was not full of him. Lily picked me up at the bus station. She gave me a warm hug. "I'm so glad you're here," she said. Her apartment was small but bright. It had big windows and green plants. She made pasta that night. We sat on the couch and talked for hours. I told her about Jacob. I told her about the book. I told her what he said on the porch. She listened. She didn't judge. She said, "I'm proud of you." The next day, I took a walk by myself. I needed air. I needed to think. I saw new faces. I heard new voices. No one knew me here. No one looked at me with pity. I felt free. I felt light. But I also felt a little lost. Who was I now? Without him, without that life. Who was I? I found a small park and sat on a bench. I watched people walk by. A girl laughed on the phone. A man played with his dog. 2 kids ran through the leaves. I closed my eyes and breathed in the cool air. I told myself, "You are here. You are safe." That night, Lily helped me make a list of simple things. "Try something new," she said. "Meet people. Learn. Heal." The next day, I signed up for a class. It was for beginners. Simple English and writing. I wanted to get better. I wanted to speak more, write more, feel more. I met kind people in the class. They smiled. They said my name. They asked questions. I felt seen. One girl from the class, Mia, asked me to go for tea. We sat in a small cafe. She asked, "Why did you come to Seattle?" I told her the truth. I left someone who didn't love me. She looked into my eyes. "That's brave," she said. I smiled. Maybe it was. Days turned into weeks. I started to walk taller. I started to laugh more. I called Emma once a week. She was always happy to hear my voice. "You sound strong," she said. I said, "I think I am." One afternoon, I was walking home from class. I saw a woman crying on the sidewalk. I stopped and asked, "Are you okay?" She nodded, but kept crying. I sat next to her. I didn't say much. I just stayed. She looked at me and said, "Thank you." I said, "Sometimes we just need someone to sit with us." I thought of Emma. I thought of Lily. I thought of all the people who sat with me when I cried. At night, I wrote in a notebook. Just simple things. I walked alone today. I smiled at a stranger. I cooked dinner without thinking of him. They were small things, but they felt big to me. One Sunday, Lily and I took a bus to the water. We watched boats. We ate sandwiches. We talked about our dreams. I told her I wanted to study more. I wanted to travel. I wanted to find work I liked. "You can do it," she said. "You just took your first step." That night, I looked at the stars. I thought about Maple Hollow. I thought about the girl who waited by the window, the girl who cooked and hoped and stayed quiet. She was gone now, and I didn't miss her. I missed the dream, not the truth. Weeks later, I got a message. It was from Jacob. Just a few words. "I hope you're okay." I looked at the screen. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just put the phone down. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. I looked around the room. It was small but full of light. It was mine, even just for now. I made my bed. I washed my cup. I felt peace. Not joy, not yet, but peace, and that was enough. I was no longer the girl who waited. I was the woman who walked away, and every step I took now was my own. Spring came to Seattle. The trees turned green. The air felt soft. People smiled more. Birds sang in the morning. I opened my window and let the fresh air in. It smelled like new beginnings. I looked outside and felt something new. It was not joy, but it was close. One day, Lily gave me a flyer. "They need help at the school near here," she said. "You're good with people. Maybe you can help with reading time." I said yes. I wanted to try. I walked to the school the next day. It was small and bright. Kids laughed in the yard. Their voices were loud and happy. The teacher welcomed me. She gave me books and asked if I could read with the children. I sat in a circle with 5 kids. They looked at me with big eyes. I opened a book and started to read. The words were simple. The story was fun. The kids laughed. I laughed too. After the reading, one girl hugged me. "You read nice," she said. I smiled. That day, something opened in my heart. I felt useful. I felt needed. I felt like myself again. I went back to the school each week. I helped more. I read more. I learned names. The kids liked me. I liked them too. I felt like I had a place. I felt strong. One day after school, the teacher asked me to stay. She said, "You're good with the children. Do you want to train for a helper job?" I was surprised. I never thought of that, but the idea made me feel warm. "Yes," I said. "I want to try." That night, I told Lily. She jumped and clapped. "I knew it," she said. "You're finding your way." I signed up for a short training class. It was hard at first. I had to speak more. I had to study, but I liked it. I met new people. I listened and asked questions. I felt proud. Slowly, I started to believe in myself. On weekends, I still called Emma. One time she said, "Do you miss Jacob?" I thought about it. Then I said, "No, I miss the dream, not the man." She said, "You've come far." I smiled. "Yes, I have." Time moved fast. The days were full. The nights were calm. I walked more. I laughed more. I made simple meals. I slept well. My face looked different in the mirror. Softer. Stronger. I was not the same girl who left Maple Hollow. One day, I walked past a small shop. In the window there was a wooden box. It looked just like the one Jacob once made. For a second, I felt pain. But then I kept walking. The pain passed. It did not stay. That was how I knew I was healing. In the summer, I finished my training. The school gave me a small job. I helped children with reading and writing. I sat with them, listened to their words, and helped them feel safe. I was not rich, but I was full of meaning, full of quiet joy. One evening, Lily made tea. We sat on the balcony. The sky was orange and soft. She said, "Do you think you'll go back home one day?" I looked out at the sky. "I don't know," I said. "But if I do, I won't go back the same." A few days later, I got a letter from my mom. It was short. "We miss you. Your room is still here. Come when you're ready." I smiled. It was nice to feel missed, but I was not ready yet. I needed more time, more space to grow. One night, I walked by the water. The moon was bright. The waves were soft. I thought about love, not the kind I gave Jacob, but the kind I now gave myself. I was kind to my heart. I was gentle with my past. I said, "You did your best. Now let go." The next morning, I woke up early. I wrote a short note to myself. "You are not what he did. You are what you chose. You chose to leave. You chose to begin again. You chose you." In the fall, the air turned cool again. The leaves started to fall. I walked to school with a scarf around my neck. A child ran to me and held my hand. "You're my favorite," she said. I smiled. I held her hand tighter. At home, Lily was baking. The kitchen smelled sweet. She looked at me and said, "You look happy." I said, "I am." and I meant it. I never thought I could feel whole again, but piece by piece, I had built a new life. Not fast, not perfect, but real and mine. I didn't need a big love story anymore. I didn't need someone to choose me. I had chosen myself, and that was enough. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.